Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. My name is Teresa. I work in info services at Lawrence Public Library. Welcome to our How To Tuesdays. We had planned on having this on the lawn outside the library, but we thought it was likely to rain, so we're doing that over Zoom. And we're excited to have Erin Wolfram from Career Advantage with us. And I'll let you sort of introduce yourself and get started.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Teresa. I wish we could have made it outside today, but it seems like lately we never know when it's going to rain. So better to be safe than sorry, of course. Yes, my name is Erin Wolfram. I own Career Advantage and Career Advantage Golf, and I'm a certified professional resume writer. I've actually been in career services now for over 15 years. I spent a majority of my career at the University Career Center at the University of Kansas, and spent a year at the Kansas Board of Regents. And then for this past year, since last July, I have owned Career Advantage. So Career Advantage actually started here in Lawrence by another local person. So it's completely locally owned, and it's a women-owned business. So it's exciting that it's, a business that started right here in Lawrence and has, maintained its presence here for such a long time. And so it's been great taking over the business. And like I said, it has two different businesses, I guess. There's Career Advantage and Career Advantage Golf. So I assist folks in all industries at all levels, but then I also have a specialization in helping folks who are in the golf course management industry. So it's kind of just a little bit of a unique niche. If you have any questions or want to know more information about Career Advantage, you can always go to careeradvantageresumes.com, and I also have social media, and all those handles are there. Also, I just thought I would mention I do have a weekly podcast. So if you are searching for a job, or just really thinking about your career development, not necessarily even looking for a new position, my podcast is called A Year of Career, 52 Practical Answers to Your Questions. And I answer one question a week from the public, and they're all pretty short episodes, anywhere from 7 minutes to 25 minutes, and very practical, to the point, informal. So you might want to check those out, as there might be some helpful information. But today we're primarily going to talk about the online job search and how to prepare your resume for applicant tracking systems, because those can sometimes be difficult to overcome. So first, I just thought we would talk a little bit about preparing. So a lot of people want to just kind of jump right in and, not really think too much about, what they're going to need to do throughout that job search process. They just start looking on, online job boards, maybe reaching out to their network, but then, all of a sudden they find this perfect position and they realize, oh my gosh, I need to get my resume ready. I need to get my cover letter ready. What if they invite me for an interview? I need to know what I'm going to say, all of those things. And so let's first talk a little bit about what you can do to prepare even before you start looking. And I always tell people that I think it's really important to prepare even if you aren't looking at all, because you never know when a great opportunity is going to come along. You might just, casually be going out to lunch with somebody and they tell you about this fantastic job opportunity. And, applying for positions can be time consuming. And so the more that you can prepare in advance for when an opportunity does come along, the better off you'll be to actually submit a quality application. So the first thing that I suggest is, if you are actively looking, is to narrow your focus and choose a job target. So what I mean by that is, know what you're looking for. Know the type of job you're looking for, the type of organization you're most interested in. Know your skills, your strengths, what you have to offer to an organization, and the types of positions that, your qualifications make you a good fit for. So that's the first thing, is focusing and choosing your job target. Once you know that, I highly recommend that you tap into your network. So talk to everyone that you know, talk to friends, family, colleagues, just really anyone that you meet, and let them know what you're looking for, because you never know who you're going to meet, who knows someone who knows of the perfect opportunity for you. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and let people know what you're looking for. Every professional job that I have received after graduation, I got in one way or another through networking. And so it really does work. So don't be afraid to just talk about what you're looking for in a new position, and let people know your skills and qualifications. The next thing that I recommend is to make sure that your resume is up to date. And you probably want to have a pretty comprehensive resume with all of your experiences and qualifications, but then you want to be ready to tailor that document to specific positions. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a little while. But it is a good idea to go ahead and update your resume even before you have a specific position for which you're going to apply, just to be prepared to tailor when the time comes. Also, in today's age, I do recommend that you have a LinkedIn profile, and most importantly, that it's an up-to-date profile. So if you have a LinkedIn profile that you created maybe 5 years ago and you haven't touched it in 5 years, now's the time to update that profile. Make sure that you have your most recent experiences listed, that everything's accurate, there aren't any errors, you have a nice professional photo so people can find you. And there are recruiters who are actively seeking candidates on LinkedIn. And so you want to be prepared if they're looking for someone with your qualifications. So in addition to having a strong LinkedIn profile, you also want to have a strong LinkedIn presence. So don't just have that profile out there online, you want to be an active user. And what I mean by that is, go in there and check LinkedIn, at least every other day, and look at your news feed and like and comment on other people's posts. You can share people's posts. You can share your own content or statistics or content related to the current organization for which you work, things like that. And all of that activity is actually going to show up right there on your LinkedIn profile. So if you are searching for jobs and you apply, and maybe someone on the search committee Googles you and they find your LinkedIn profile, they're going to see all that activity and see that you really are dedicated to your professional development, your industry, your field, that sort of thing. So that's why it's really important to be an active user on LinkedIn. Also, you want to be ready to tailor your cover letters for each position. So you should never just have a generic cover letter that you're sending out to, any position that you want to apply for. You want to tailor that cover letter to each position. And we're going to talk about that more here pretty soon as well, but it's so important. Another thing that you want to do as you start applying is to start thinking about what you would want to tell the hiring committee in an interview. So I recommend thinking about stories from your past experiences that demonstrate your strengths and accomplishments and prove your value. So prove the value that you'll bring to the organization. So you want to tell those stories using the STAR method, which is explaining the situation you are in, the tasks you are assigned, the actions you took to achieve those tasks, and the results. And we hope that those results are positive outcomes, and those outcomes are what prove, that demonstrate the proof that you actually have, those skills and strengths that you're talking about that you've relayed through that story. So start thinking about those stories, write them down so you can look at them, prior to an interview, so they're fresh in your mind and you'll be able to utilize those throughout those unexpected questions. Also, as you're thinking about searching for a job, you again want to tap into your network and make sure that you have at least 3 to 5 people who are willing to serve as a professional reference for you. So the key word here is professional reference. So your parents, your best friends, your uncle, your sister, your cousin. Those people don't make great professional references because they're pretty biased, I would assume. And what employers really want to know, or future employers really want to know, is, what's your work ethic? What are you like as an employee? Would they hire you again? And so you want to have professional references who, most often are previous supervisors or colleagues, maybe someone who managed a volunteer activity that you participated in, things like that. If you're a student, a professor or an advisor, those people all make strong professional references, and you always want to give them a heads up and ask for their permission for you to use them as a professional reference. So make sure to do that if you're actively seeking. Just a couple other kind of final thoughts as far as preparing goes is I do recommend that you figure out some way to stay organized if you are searching for positions and applying for multiple positions at once. And there is a really cool free tool that's called Hunter. And that's an online resource that I have pulled up here. I won't actually log in and show it to you. But if you've ever used something like Trello or some other sort of organizational system, this may look kind of familiar. And it's very similar to that. So you can basically just organize all of your job applications in here to really stay up to date on when you applied, if you heard back from them, what all they're requesting as far as application submissions go, and things like that. So again, it's a really cool free tool that might be beneficial to some of you. If you're not quite as tech savvy, just want to keep it simple, and of course, you could just use an Excel spreadsheet and keep track of all the positions that you've applied for, the contact for those positions, when you applied, when you heard back from them, all of those things. So Excel works great, but Hunter is just a new tool that you may not be familiar with that could be really beneficial to you. And finally, all of the things that I've really been talking about sort of align with this last bullet, and that's just simply to conduct an active job search. So what I mean by that is don't just go online using the online tools that we're going to talk about here in a minute, submit your application and just hope for the best. That's a very passive approach to applying for jobs. Do people get jobs that way? Absolutely. But if you take a more active approach and you're tapping into your network, you're utilizing LinkedIn, you're reaching out to the HR manager for the position, letting them know how excited you are about the opportunity and asking if they need any further information and verifying that they received your application, that's a more active approach, okay? So try to maintain an active job search rather than just a passive, submit applications over and over and over again, cross your fingers and hope for the best. All right, so with that, let's transition a little bit into some helpful online job boards that might be beneficial in finding opportunities. So number one, again, I'll go back, is to tapping into your network. So don't just rely on these online resources. People are the ones who actually know about the job opportunities within their organizations, or maybe they have a friend who's looking for someone with your qualifications. If you don't ask, you'll never know that they know someone or know of an opportunity that's a great fit for you. So number one, again, tap into that network. But finding opportunities online is also beneficial. You can definitely learn about a lot of great positions that way. So first, I highly recommend that you look at websites for professional associations related to your industry or that you're a member of, and or specific organizations and company websites. So if you know that you're interested in a certain company, of course, stay up to date on, their job postings and see if they have something that is something that you're interested in and apply. And then you could reach out to, again, like I said, the HR manager, either via email or send them a message through LinkedIn, just confirming that they've received your application and expressing your interest. Professional association websites, again, a lot of times you have to be a member of the professional association to access their job board. But if you are a member of those professional associations, they may have some jobs posted on that job board that may not be posted elsewhere. So definitely utilize those sort of industry specific and organization specific websites to find opportunities. So I also pulled some of my favorite local or regional websites as well. First, honestly, I know this seems very elementary and possibly kind of silly, but I think a lot of people don't even think about it. Use Google. Just search the job title that you're looking for and the city and state. And it's amazing how many opportunities you'll find just by doing that. Some other more direct resources here in Lawrence, we have jobs.lawrence.com. There's regionalhelpwanted.com for Topeka and Lawrence. Express Personnel has a lot of positions on their website. kansasworks.com has quite a few opportunities. And then there are some Facebook groups that are specific to Lawrence as well. Lawrence Job Openings, Lawrence, Kansas Job Search, Lawrence, Kansas Area Job Search that you can actually join. And as people have opportunities, they post those in the Facebook group. So all of the members of that group can see about the opportunities and then of course go and apply. Another one that people might not know about already is Nonprofit Connect. And that's actually a Kansas City-based organization, and they post nonprofit positions in the regional area. So if you're looking to work in a nonprofit, that might be a good tool for you. And then, of course, there are national or local job boards that you're probably familiar with. Indeed is probably one of the most popular, and ZipRecruiter is very similar. And you can actually post your resume on those job sites. And I don't recommend, just posting your resume and hoping that someone's going to find you. That's not being active at all, right? So get your resume on there, make sure it's up to date, make sure you fill out all the fields correctly so it looks really nice and organized. And then you could actually utilize that resume that you've uploaded into that system to apply for positions. So, a lot of people say, oh, you'll never find a job just by applying on job boards. And I mean, that's not true. I mean, I did my job that I had prior to owning Career Advantage, I applied through Indeed and did end up getting that job. Coincidentally, I also had a high school friend who worked there and contacted her after I applied and went and had dinner with her and talked to her about the organization and the culture and all of those things to help me prepare for the interview. So I did apply directly through that online system, but then utilize my network to hopefully kind of tap into resources to help me get my foot in the door and get an interview. And ultimately, I was offered the position. LinkedIn Jobs is a great way to find positions as well. And, these I've titled national resources, but of course, there are local opportunities within all of these. So in Indeed, for example, you would just, search Lawrence, Kansas, or in LinkedIn Jobs, Topeka, Kansas, or wherever you live. And those are going to pull up, local positions as well. Facebook now has a jobs function, so you can search for jobs through Facebook. And then again, for national positions, just using Google to type in the job title, the city and state can produce some quality results. So those are some of the best sort of online job tools that I have found to find quite a few quality positions. So definitely might want to check those out if you are looking for a job right now.
That's really helpful, Erin, because just having it sort of like bullet point by bullet point, like, hey, this is stuff that you might have missed. Like, I know you've mentioned several things that I hadn't heard of before, like the Hunter website and the difference between sort of like being performing like a passive versus active job search. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, Hunter is a newer tool that I just learned about not too long ago. So I've kind of been sharing it with everyone because, I like to be organized. I'm not always super organized, but if I was searching for a job right now, I think that could be a really valuable tool. So
Yes, I
hopefully it'll
like my
benefit
to-do
some.
lists.
Yes, exactly. And it's my understanding with Hunter, you can, like you can move tasks and things like that. It's kind of like a to-do list. So it sounds really interesting to me. So now let's talk about actually applying for these jobs. I talked about how you can submit your resume actually through Indeed, for example. But if you actually attach a document to an application, you probably want to make sure that it's optimized for applicant tracking systems. And so I have provided my main tips for doing that. Applicant tracking systems, basically what they do is they are kind of a sort of a pre-scan. They do a pre-scan of resumes to kind of weed out people who aren't qualified. And so you may be 100% qualified, but if the applicant tracking system either can't read your resume or it's just very kind of jumbled and disorganized, it's not going to produce the results that are needed to get you to that next step, to actually get an actual human to see your resume. So first thing, keep it simple, okay? I'm sure that if you Google resumes right now, resume templates, you're going to see these flashy designs with a lot of white space and columns and color and tables and things like that. They're all over the internet. Do they look pretty? Yeah, absolutely. They look great. If a human was looking at them, they're very aesthetically pleasing, but an applicant tracking system cannot read them. So if your resume has any tables, columns, excessive formatting, pictures, photos, things like that, an applicant tracking system cannot read it. Therefore, your resume probably is going to be rejected before a human even sees it. So keep it simple. Okay, you can still make a really nice, clean, aesthetically looking resume without all of these, formatting things. And I think the most important thing to keep in mind here is the content is ultimately what's most important. I mean, yes, you want it to look nice, you want it to be error-free, but the people and the applicant tracking systems need to easily be able to see your skills, strengths, and qualifications that align directly with the position. And if that's not easy for them, again, you're probably going to be overlooked. So simple is not a bad thing when it comes to resumes. Second, most applicant tracking systems prefer a Word document, but sometimes a PDF version can be uploaded instead. So with that, I would just follow the directions in the job description or in the application where you actually browse and attach your document. It's going to tell you the different types of file formats that are allowed. But for the most part, when you're submitting through an actual application system where you have to browse and attach, a Word document is your best bet. If you're emailing, then I would suggest a PDF. So just a little bit of a tip there, but with applicant tracking systems, usually Word is going to be your best bet. The other thing when you're developing your resume and looking at the job description is you really want to match your keywords in your resume to the words within the job description, because the applicant tracking systems are scanning your resume for the words in their position description. And if they don't find those words, then again, they're going to just kick you out. So a good example of this might be if you have strong customer service skills and that's something that you really want to get across and you feel that that's a valuable asset for this new position. If they're using client services, if their language in the job description is client services and you have customer service, those don't align. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Really look at the job description and make sure that your language matches their language. The skills that you have match the skills that they're seeking in the job description, and tailor it to those specific positions. If you have a career profile or a skills section in your resume, again, this is a great place to add those to continue to add those keywords. Applicant tracking systems not only scan for certain keywords, they want to see those keywords multiple times. And so if you only have, one of the major keywords that they're looking for one time on your resume, that might not, register a hit for the applicant tracking system. So they're looking for it multiple times. And in addition to your nice, strong action verb statements on your resume, which we'll talk about in just a moment, you can add those keywords to your career profile, summary of qualifications, or skills section to get those words in there a little bit more often. And then finally, the last thing that I want to talk about today before we wrap up is those 3 to 5 action verbs that I just mentioned. So for each position that you hold, or that you have held, excuse me, and you have on your resume, I recommend including at least 3 to 5 action verb accomplishment-based statements for each, okay? And the key here is to focus on the outcome. So a lot of resumes that I see, they're very duty or responsibility based. It's, what you do on a day-to-day basis. But really, what's going to stand out to the humans in the search committee and the applicant tracking systems are the results of your actions, okay? So I really want to push you to make your resume more results driven and less duty-based or responsibility-based. And the questions that can help you get at a more results-driven resume are what follows here. So think about, what were the results of your actions? How did your actions positively impact the organization, your clients, your supervisor, etc.? Okay, so what were the positive results? What are you most proud of from each position that you've held? And then what can you quantify? And what I mean by that is you want to try to, add a specific number to the outcome. So think about, did this action result in an increase in sales, a decrease in costs, an increase in social media followers or engagement, streamlined operations, a decrease in time on task, increased donations? Those are all things that you can ask yourself to try to get at more results-driven language on your resume. So those are my main tips for having a much more active job search and utilizing some of these online resources effectively. And then, of course, ensuring that your resume is optimized so you can make it to the round of interviews.
Thank you, Erin. That's a lot of juicy info, like I was saying earlier, that may not occur to a lot of people. I know it hasn't occurred to me all the time to sort of include, well, what was the outcome, not just your duties or responsibilities.
Exactly.
And as well as the applicant tracking systems. That's sort of an interesting piece as well, and the importance of keywords and matching that to the
actual job description,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So that's pretty much, those are my main tips. I do have another PDF that I believe is shared or can be shared. I won't go through it just for time's sake, but it's just a little handout on how to actually tailor your resume and cover letter even a little bit more than what we talked about. So again, it just really outlines the importance of matching your language to that in the job description and aligning your qualifications. And then with the cover letter, just a couple quick things that I'll mention is make sure to try to address a specific person if at all possible. You never want to address your letter to whom it may concern. If you absolutely cannot find out, who the hiring manager is or who the human resources manager is, you could address it to, dear hiring manager. But I really want to encourage you to try to find a contact if at all possible. You could pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, who's the contact for this position? And they may tell you, oh, just address it to the hiring manager. But okay, well, then at least you tried, right? And then in your cover letter, this is so important. In addition to expressing your skills, strengths, and qualifications that align with the position, you need to explain your why. Why are you interested in this position and this organization? They want to hire people who are passionate about their company, their industry, not just someone who wants any job. So the cover letter gives you the perfect opportunity to explain that why and express your interest again in their position at their specific organization. So those are just some final thoughts that I would mention that we didn't really cover in the previous discussion. So thank you so much again, Teresa, for having me. I really appreciate it and hope that there are some valuable tips here for folks.
Definitely. And we will have these 2 handouts that Erin has provided at the library at the Ask Desk. So feel free to stop by if you want copies of these. And yeah, so thanks again, Erin. It was a pleasure.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.